Hello and welcome to Vietnam Entrepreneurs on VietSuccess. This is Quốc Khánh, host of the show. Today we're going to talk about cloud computing and how it impacts the digital transformation strategy for corporate leaders. Nowadays in Vietnam, many businesses are looking towards cloud-based technological transformation to, in the short term, facilitate the recovering process after COVID, and in more sustainable term, in the long term, to catch on with the digital trends of this omni-channel world. So how to execute an effective digital transformation strategy, especially the cloud computing strategy, and what are some of the challenges that businesses have to face and how to overcome them. It's my honor to welcome a special guest from Singapore who joined us remotely, Mr. Conor McNamara, a Managing Director of Amazon Web Services, who's in charge of Southeast Asia region. Amazon Web Services is a provider of cloud-based products ranging from compute, storage, database, analytics, and many more. So it's my honor to welcome Mr. Conor McNamara. Hello, welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Good, thanks. Great to be here virtually. Looking forward to the conversation.
Can you hear me good now?
Loud and clear.
All right. So I'd like to get started with the let's say a general background of this term digital transformation, because we talk a lot about this term, and it's such a broad term, especially when it comes to cloud computing. So how do you explain this term, especially to non-tech corporate leaders?
Yeah, great place to start. Good question. Yeah, the easiest analogy I use is that of a light bulb. And if you think back to the world pre-2006, when Amazon or AWS was formed and we pioneered this concept of cloud computing, pre-2006, if you wanted to go and launch a new business or test a new idea or build a new product, you had to go and make some sort of capital expenditure. You had to go and buy servers, you had to go and build a data center, you had to enter into a long-term co-location contract. And post-2006, all of that goes away. So now you can go and consume various services, as you mentioned in your introduction: compute, storage, database, analytics, machine learning, and many more on a pay-as-you-go basis over the internet, and you only pay for what you use. And that's been truly transformative, because what it's meant is that barrier to entry and that barrier to innovation has reduced drastically over the last 15 years. And it's meant that developers in dorm rooms or early stage startups can now, compete on a level playing field with the world's largest financial service institutions, largest government institutions, largest enterprises around the globe. And that's why we've seen this wave of disruption over the last 15 years. And we've seen, industries being turned upside down through this technology innovation. So very, very exciting. And it's still very, very early. I think even though we're 15 years into this journey now, we still believe that less than 10% of all cloud addressable workloads are in the public cloud today. So there's a really, really exciting future ahead of us.
The COVID-19 does speed up a little bit the adoption process in Southeast Asia, especially in Vietnam. And I know that Amazon Web Services, you come to the country in 2017. So I'm just wondering, what is your observations of what's going on right now in terms of cloud computing development in Vietnam?
Yeah. So look, lots, in a nutshell, a lot going on. We're really, really excited about our business in Vietnam. As you said, we've had customers in Vietnam now for well over a decade, but the business really accelerated with the launch of our first on-the-ground presence in Vietnam in 2017 with the opening of our offices in Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. And we've invested pretty aggressively in a cross-functional team to support our customers in their cloud transformation journey since then. Solution architects, a services organization, a support organization, legal support, sales, technical pre-sales, a really, diverse cross-functional team to support customers on this transformation journey. And we've also invested in various infrastructure offerings in the country to support customers with their, hybrid solutions. For example, AWS Outpost, which we launched last year, which provides a fully integrated hybrid offering where you can run workloads between on-premises and in the cloud in a seamless manner. And up to even as recently as a couple of weeks ago, where we launched AWS local zones in Vietnam, which is to provide, which allows customers to have single-digit millisecond latency services at the edge that can access the cloud. So really, really excited to see, the investments we're making, and those investments are testament to the momentum we're seeing on the ground with our customers and with our partners.
What kind of industry right now in Vietnam that are applying cloud computing? Could you kind of elaborate in details of what's going on in terms of, let's say, break it down to different kind of scale, different kind of businesses in Vietnam?
Yeah, great question. And, let me break it down into maybe the way we think about customers. We work backwards from our customers, and we've come up with various customer segments. And, similar to what we've seen around the world, startups are a really big part of our growth story in Vietnam, and we're really excited to see how startups are aggressively embracing the AWS cloud, and organizations like, Med247, which is an online telehealth organization that has really scaled significantly over the last couple of years off the back of the pandemic. An organization like Not a Basement Studio, which is a central online repository where you can read comics, and they're serving their global customer base, on the back of AWS. So startups are, a really big part of our heritage at AWS, and certainly a big part of our journey in Vietnam to date. The second one I'd say is SMBs, and like the rest of Southeast Asia, 40% of the GDP of the country in Vietnam, more or less, is driven by SMEs. We're very focused on digitizing that customer base, and we're customers like Grove Group, which has moved their SAP S4HANA onto us, or the next big one I'd say is enterprises, and really, really exciting. And one particular vertical we're seeing in enterprise is financial services. The work we're doing with organizations like FE Credit. So like many enterprises, they have a long legacy IT infrastructure, and they're moving the vast majority of those workloads to the AWS cloud. Techcom Bank, who we've embarked on a really, really exciting partnership with, where they're moving the majority of their workloads to the cloud. They're going to use AWS to enhance the experience of their customers through our data services, and they're also reskilling their workforce. So really exciting what we're doing with enterprises. And of course, then the public sector as well. We're working with various universities in the provision of online training courses and so on, as they look to support their growing, student base virtually and remotely on the AWS cloud.
I can see that you are supporting a wide range of businesses across all kinds of industries and different levels as well. But for some of the, let's say, the organizations, leaders who are still reluctant to try cloud computing, how do you convince them? What are some of the key benefits that could impact your customers, your business customers, when they move to cloud?
Hark back to your opening remarks around the pandemic. What I've seen a real change in the conversations we've been having with customers since the onset of the pandemic, and often pre the pandemic, the conversations was about, why cloud and what the value proposition is. And now it's much more about the how, how you move to the cloud. And it's a much more engaged conversation. I think the pandemic, again, crystallized the value proposition for cloud for many organizations and many business leaders in a really tangible sense. And, one of the obvious benefits is agility. As I mentioned earlier, you can scale your cost base in real time in the cloud in a way you could never do on premises. So if you are like Trends, an online education organization, and you're going to 10x the amount of people accessing your platform overnight, you just can't scale like that in an on-premises environment. Likewise, if you're an organization like Vietjet and you want to right-size your cost base in the other direction because you need to downsize because of the pandemic from a travel perspective, you can't do that on premises either. So that's a big one. The other one is cost savings overall. We've reduced prices 111 times since we started this business in 2006. And that's just ingrained in our DNA, and we'll continue to reduce prices as we build more economies of scale into our operating model and invent on behalf of our customers. And we've also got really innovative ways that we're supplying infrastructure with things like Graviton 2 microprocessors, which are 40% better price performance than, some of the Intel and AMD processors that we've worked with historically. The third one I would say is this global footprint. We are the oldest and largest cloud provider globally, and we have 26 regions, so clusters of data centers around the globe, and 84 availability zones, which is one or more data centers in each individual availability zone. And that ability to access global customers through the AWS global footprint in a low-cost manner is a really, really big value add for customers. The fourth one is security. Security is a top priority for us, and we've built this business from the ground up with security being top of mind, and all of our services are built with a very, very strong secure mindset. And we've across the various certifications that we have across financial services and public sector, and all of our regions globally are built with the same physical infrastructure framework and same security framework. And we've really invested heavily on building fine-grained security services that you could never replicate on premises. So that's a big one. I think the other one is this idea of the innovation platform and this efficiency and innovation dividend that you get from cloud. And what I mean by that is that your people no longer have to spend their time doing what we consider to be the undifferentiated heavy lifting associated with managing, maintaining infrastructure. And you can repurpose your best people to work on your most exciting new projects, and you can leave the managing infrastructure at scale to AWS. And that's a really, really big benefit in this organization, where we're in such a skills constrained world, and where all organizations are grappling to increase the digital literacy within their organization.
Right. So I see the question now is not why cloud, but is how to cloud effectively. And I want to follow up on one point that you have just mentioned on security. And I believe that is a very critical point for corporate leaders in Vietnam. And that's maybe one of the reasons why they are reluctant to move to cloud, because of the data security risk. So from your perspective, how do you ensure data security for businesses?
Yeah, so, first of all, as I said, right, security is our top priority, and we know we don't have a business without a secure platform. And again, all 26 of our regions globally are built to the exact same specification. All of our supply chain and operations have been vetted so that they're equipped to run top secret workloads on the AWS cloud as authorized by government institutions and financial services institutions around the world. And that's really important. We've also, as I said, invested in ensuring that all AWS services that store data have encryption built into them from the ground up, and that's a big thing that customers ask for all the time. We've also, invested in building security services by listening to our customers on what they want. Things like AWS Control Tower, things like Guard Duty, that collectively give customers a level of, insight and governance over their data, where it sits, who has access to it, in a way you could never replicate on premises. The other thing is, we have a shared security model with our customers. So we manage everything from the physical infrastructure to the top of the host operating system. And then our customers manage the security architecture of the applications they run on AWS. And we provide lots of training and certifications and support to our partners to ensure customers are educated on what the right security posture is for those applications. And we also have a marketplace of third-party security services that customers can procure at any time to augment their security posture even further.
Right. I guess a lot of Vietnamese businesses are moving to cloud right now. What seem to be some common challenges or obstacles that they are facing right now when trying to apply an effective cloud computing strategy?
Yeah, so I think one that not just Vietnam, but I think the region and globally is grappling with is this idea of the skills divide. I referenced it earlier, and I think we're really encouraged by the pace of growth, but we know that for cloud to be truly a democratizing force, that we must play an active role in bridging the digital skills divide. And I think we have really stated our intent here with what we said at our CEO, Adam Slipsky, said at our Global reInvent conference in December last year, where we would train 29 million new builders on the AWS cloud by 2025. And we've taken that down to Southeast Asia as well. And with the launch of our AWS region in Jakarta in December, we announced we've trained over 200,000 Indonesians on the AWS cloud, over the last couple of years, which is a big progress as well. So that's a big focus for us, and I know a big focus for customers across Indonesia. And when we think about that, we don't just think about through the lens of training our customers today. So I mentioned Techcombank earlier, and we're doing something with them called the AWS Skills Guild, which is focused on building cloud fluency across the organization. And again, cloud is not a technology-driven project. For it to be successful, it needs to be an organizational-wide project. And the best way to make the organization invested in the success of your cloud project is to anchor the outcomes in business goals and train your people. And Techcombank have taken a really ambitious goal where they've already trained over 700 people across the organization on AWS cloud skills, and will train over 2,000 people over the next couple of years. So that's really important and and we're doing something similar with many other customers across Southeast Asia. But also another big part of it is ensuring that we're training the next generation of builders coming out of Vietnam. So we're very focused on ingraining AWS curriculum into second and third level institutions with our AWS Educate program, and focused on ensuring that we educate and train school teachers and lecturers so that institutions can ingrain those education programs into their organizations and into their courses, so that then the next generation of graduates have AWS cloud skills from the early days of their careers to then fuel the next generation of growth. We've also done something like AWS Build on Vietnam, which we did last year, which was a hackathon, which we tried to run a gamified program over the course of a weekend to, give customers an opportunity, or potential customers, developers, an opportunity to experiment in AWS in a low-cost, free environment, and then build something tangible, and then present that back, and then those individuals were showcased and transferred into the Southeast Asian final for that program.
So I guess it's cloud skill and a lot of training that we can have support from AWS. But from a corporate leader's perspective, how do we get ready for this change? How do we make sure that our organizations is ready for this? How do we know that we're going to need the cloud services?
Yeah, great question again. And, back to my catchphrase I said earlier, I think if you look at the conversations we've been having, it's less of why now than how. But if you think of the value proposition again, there's things our CEO or former CEO and founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, talks about tailwinds, and the importance of, when you're a day one company, the need to embrace external tailwinds early. And for me, one of the strongest external tailwinds organizations are ever going to encounter over the next 5, 10 to 15 years is cloud computing. And for me, the value proposition, again, harking back to some of those value prop I outlined in my previous answer, it's really important that organizations, first of all, acknowledge this cloud computing is a tailwind and does have such compelling value proposition that this will be a big part of the future. And I think most organizations now, to a large part, have grasped that. And so it pivots then to the how. And if you think about that, how do you crystallize the how in an organization? For me, there's a few things that are important. And one is, aggressive top-down goals. And I think it needs to be an organizational-wide initiative, not an IT-centric initiative. And it's really, really important, in my experience, to have CEO-level sponsorship and board-level sponsorship in the program, and to anchor the outcomes of the cloud program to business objectives. Again, harking back to Techcombank, their vision is change banking and change lives. And when we were working with them, a lot of our focus was around ensuring that the cloud program anchored around those charters. And many other customers in Vietnam, given the growth the country is seeing in digitization and in financial inclusion, a lot of organizations are looking to do really exciting things. I think of TNEX one of the first digital bank in the country and a subsidiary of Maritime Bank, similar, really ambitious goals. And they've really stated those publicly and then anchored technology solutions to those things. The second thing, as I said, is train your builders. For cloud to be a truly differentiating force in your organization, invest in training early, and make that training program holistic and inclusive. And the other thing I'd say is that, we live in this world of consumption economics now. And no longer do organizations need to make really long-term contract commitments, really, things that they can't yet plan for. And what we've seen historically is that organizations, particularly enterprises, tend to enter into long-stage RFPs and procurement processes. And that just isn't typically, in my experience, the best way to start a cloud journey. Really, what we want to say is don't complexify. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Pick a project, pick an initiative, start doing something, build subject matter expertise within your organization, and then evolve from there. At Amazon, again, we say, be stubborn on the strategy and flexible on the tactics. And I think organizations can, again, think about what the strategy looks like long term, but then experiment around the tactics so you learn in an iterative way in this new way of working.
Yeah, I see that you have many successful cases in Vietnam. You mentioned Techcombank many times, but I have known that one other customers of your B&J, Phú Nhuận Jewelry, one of the fastest growing jewelry brands in Vietnam, recently achieved success. And that success has come from digital transformation strategy, especially cloud computing. So could you kind of give us an evaluation on this case? And I believe this is a very important case that we can learn from in terms of executing a very effective cloud computing or digital transformation strategy.
Yeah, good question. And I agree, a great case study. I think, first of all, they moved their key customer-facing platforms to the cloud and saw immediate cost savings, up to 90% savings versus what they would have seen in an on-premises environment. So P&J have 350 stores across Vietnam, and if they were to run an on-premises infrastructure that was replicable or comparable to what they're running in the cloud, it would cost them approximately $1,000 per store to maintain that IT footprint that they now operate in the cloud. Overall per month, and overall it cost them $1,000 for the entire organization per month now. So it's a huge saving in terms of costs, in terms of just running your infrastructure. Again, using the AWS cloud, architecting with things like our serverless architectures, using things like Amazon Spot and so on. And there's a lot of levers there that organizations often don't see when they just do a very apples to apples comparison of an on-premises server to a virtual machine in the cloud. So that's a big benefit. The other thing I love about this organization is that they've looked at the business metrics that matter to them, and they've measured the improvement in those metrics. So things like checkout speeds when they're ordering online, how quickly can you get to a checkout? And they've seen, I think, a 4x improvement on that from running that application on premises to running it in the cloud. Another one is, rendering for a page when someone is looking to access various different products. And again, that's improved significantly. So they're anchoring the cloud benefits back to the benefits they're in customers and the customer experience that the customer is having, which is huge. And, again, what we often see here is that organizations come to AWS for those initial cost savings. Then they see the benefits of doing things that they do today much better and cheaper, like those two business benefits that I alluded to. But now they're looking over the horizon, they're going, what's next? And they're looking at things like augmented reality, and they're looking at things like how they can use Amazon machine learning, things like personalize our recommendations engine to build the next generation of what their store looks like in the cloud and what it will look like to be a P&J customer in 2023 or 2025, and how AWS can play a key role in that. And that's often a journey we see. Organizations move their legacy IT infrastructure, they get some cost savings, they get better operational performance given the way we architect our applications. Then they improve the way that they've provided services to their customers today by doing it better, faster, and cheaper. And then they look over the horizon and they go, what's next? How can I build new products? How can I enhance the services I'm giving to my customers? How can I look at things like machine learning or augmented reality and so on? And that's that's a really proven pattern, and really applaud P&J for their journey in this space.
Yeah, right. Thank you. I guess my last question is kind of wrap up the whole conversation. For business customers in Vietnam, corporate leaders, when they choose let's say a cloud partner like you, what are some of the top factors that they consider? I mean, what make they choose a cloud partner? What kind of criteria they're looking at?
Yeah, good question. I think first of all, a lot of customers, you're going to run mission critical workloads on the cloud. And if you're an enterprise and you're going to move your primary source of revenue onto the cloud, whether that's core banking or whether it's SAP or whether it's a customer facing e-commerce application like we mentioned earlier, that's a huge decision. And so resiliency and performance and uptime is a big factor for customers. And I think customers really focused on how performing one cloud provider is against another cloud provider. And AWS is 7x less downtime hours than our next most high performing competitor over the last 24 months, I believe. And that's not a guarantee of what the future looks like, but we are very focused on operational performance and getting as close as possible to perfection, to the point where the difference between our performance and perfection is indistinguishable to our customers. And so that's really important for us, and I think really important for customers, that operational resilience and ensuring that we continue to stay really focused on providing a secure, scalable, fault-tolerant platform. The second one, again, is, as I said, is the breadth and depth of the platform. And so customers are very rarely looking for a point solution anymore. Customers are looking for a partner that's going to be a holistic partner over time, and that's from a technology standpoint. And customers can very rarely buy a data warehouse now without fully understanding the breadth and depth of the ancillary services around governance and around data stores and around machine learning and AI, and that applies across the breadth and depth of services. And so having 200 plus services and having the depth of service that we have in the area of compute, for example, that is unmatched by any of our competitors, is a big plus for customers, I believe. The other big thing is our DNA around cost savings. Our DNA is to pass cost savings on to our customers and to continue to invent and innovate and drive out economies of scale and how we operate, and then pass those savings on to our customers. And again, I mentioned earlier, 111 price reductions since we started is something I think that gives customers comfort that we are constantly looking for ways to reduce costs. And that is, I think, pretty counter to maybe the mindset of traditional IT vendors over the last 20, 30, 40 years, which I think customers, when they initially engage with us, are positively and presently surprised on. The last one in is that global footprint again. Do you have a presence across all of the geographies in which you want to do business or may want to do business in the future? And do you have an ability to serve your customers in a way that you can do so remotely in a low-cost manner? So customers often compare the footprint of one cloud provider versus another. And again, we have the largest global footprint. And I think that's a big benefit for customers. And then overall, I think as well is the community around the cloud provider. So is there enough skills in the community to support customers on that journey? Is the partner community broad and deep? Are there enough local migration partners or machine learning partners or analytics partners? I think that's a big factor for customers more and more. And again, back to those third-party relationships with ISVs I mentioned earlier. And then the last one, I think, as well, is cultural alignment. I think customers are more and more thinking about, are the culture of our organization aligned with your organization? Do we believe that there's overall cultural alignment there? So I think they're, in my experience, some of the key factors that CEOs and CIOs and boards and so on look for when they're trying to select a long-term cloud partner.
All right, thank you so much. That's such a big emphasis on what we have just went through for the whole interview. Thank you so much. Mr. Conor McNamara, Managing Director of Amazon Web Services in Southeast Asia. Thank you so much. So I guess the question now is not why cloud, but it's more of how cloud. And we talk a lot about digital transformation, such a broad term, but let's go down to a very specific approach, that is cloud services, cloud computing. And you can get started by this very important first step. And hope you can gain some lesson from what Conor shared today. Let's look forward to a future. And thank you, Conor.
Thanks, Ken. Pleasure. It's great talking to you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you. And thank you so much for watching the show. And I hope you guys can support us by giving us a subscription or like or share the video, and also follow us on many podcast platforms. So I'll see you next time. Thank you.